been involved with actually several of the people in the room here today as well on some age-friendly community planning initiatives. And I wanted to present that to you today because it really has good alignment and good fit with what we're talking about today. The Healthy Communities Checklist, the built environment. I would say the one component about age-friendly community planning that is maybe the extra layer on top of the built environment planning would be the importance of social connectedness and social relationships. So, as Paul alluded to earlier and reviewed, there is a healthy environment strategic priority in our strategic plan, Lambton Public Health. We also have a healthy aging strategic priority. And I'm working with a team of people similar to the team that's here today. We have a team, a healthy aging team, that has been working on this priority. So we have 3 priority statements. The use of a healthy aging lens to guide. So we're looking internally how we deliver our public health programs to ensure that we're meeting the needs of all people across the life course. We're coordinating with community stakeholders who serve older adults, and you'll hear a little bit more about some of those partnerships that we're working with. But really today, that says AAA, leadership in promoting age-friendly communities. So wanting to reach out now to municipalities to show an example of what we've done with the City of Sarnia and how we can also work to support some of your efforts in your municipalities as well. So, Dr. Caldwell talked to, I think we talked some of these stats already. So what we know in Lambton County is our population itself is not changing. However, we're having a significant shift in the proportion of our population and that demographic shift. So as you're seeing in 2016, right now we have about 21% of our population is over the age of 65. However, as you see that shift, and you can see from the graph here, over the course of the next 20 years, this one actually takes you to 2036 rather than 2035, we see that 32% of our population is going to be over the age of 65. What we need to pay particular attention to, though, as well, is that the greatest increase in that over that 20-year period will really be in that demographic of people over the age of 75. And what kind of impact will that have on our communities, but also what kind of opportunities will that have for us moving forward. So age-friendly community planning is nothing new. The World Health Organization actually has a wonderful age-friendly community planning framework, and there's a global network of age-friendly communities across the world. Age-friendly community world enables people of all ages to actively participate in community activities, and it treats everyone with respect, regardless of age. And I think we want people to know that age-friendly community planning, yes, we're focusing on this because we have a particular demographic shift happening. However, we're looking to support the needs of everyone across the life course, all ages. It's a place that makes it easy for older people to stay connected to people that are important to them. It helps people stay healthy and active in their communities, even at the oldest ages, and provides appropriate support to those who can no longer look after themselves. We are using this framework to move our work forward, and we've been working in close partnership with the City of Sarnia to work on age-friendly community planning initiatives. So an age-friendly community, when they, we talk about checklists, we like to do this all the time. There are 8 domains to an age-friendly community, and a lot of these align with the Healthy Environments Checklist and the work that we're talking about today. So those domains really impact municipal work as well. We're talking about transportation, housing, the extra layer that I talked about, social participation, respect and social inclusion, civic participation and employment, communication and information, community support and health services, and outdoor spaces and public buildings. So we, as a strategic planning team, wanted to move forward to the County of Lambton to say we really need to work collaboratively with the various different community partners. If we, not community partners, but county departments. So if we know that healthy aging is a strategic priority for us, I'm sure that other county departments are doing some really relevant and important work here, and how can we work together to support the needs of the aging population? So we did go forward in May of 2017 to committee, asking that we create an age-friendly community working group through the County of Lambton so we could really look to see what we're all doing and how can we support one another and support the municipalities. So we did strike up a working group. Some of the people in the room today are on that working group, and we have representatives from housing, planning and infrastructure, cultural services, public health services, which includes us and EMS, social planning, long-term care, court services, and purchasing. We are working in close partnership with the City of Sarnia to work on age-friendly community planning. Back in 2015, we had our Healthy Aging Strategic Priority, and I was doing a lot of work with Dale Mosley on accessibility and various other initiatives in the city of Sarnia. And there came some funding opportunities to the province of Ontario in the form of seniors community grants. At that point in time, we put our heads together and said this age-friendly community planning initiative is something that we really should do in our community. There's this wonderful framework. How can we work together to do this? So we received a $35,000 grant at that time to create an action plan, to engage with the community, to identify some priorities so that we could move forward. Through that process, we engaged with over 1,200 people in the city of Sarnia through surveys, focus groups, key informant interviews, and we developed an action plan with those priorities. So the community spoke and identified 43 key priority items under those 8 domains that I talked about. We are now moving forward, and we are actually moving into that, we're well a year into implementation of that action plan. We just had our age-friendly Sarnia Summit last week to report back to the community on the progress that we've made. I'm happy to say we have 7 active subcommittees working to implement that action plan, and those subcommittees involve core community stakeholders as well as residents within the community. We have over 76 volunteers involved in the process, and as of this year, we've received close to $800,000 in grant funding just to move that effort forward. So those are grants, 2 seniors community grants, and 1 health and wellbeing grant from the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. And I just wanted to show you when we speak about partnership and collaboration, just to let you know, because a lot of these partners are people that you work with and support the residents in your communities as well. I'm not going to go through who all the partners are, but we pretty much have every key stakeholder that's involved in community supports and health services, specific to some of the work that I'm doing, at the table working with us to try and ensure that we have an integrated community care model to support the needs of an aging population. And that's what we'd like to work with you to support those efforts moving forward. At this point in time, I'm actually going to turn the microphone over to Jennifer, who's going to talk about one key aspect of an initiative that we received some ministry funding for, really to help support volunteerism and getting a community to support one another. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Jennifer.
Thank you. So hi everyone, my name is Jen Graham, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Community That Cares, which is one of the one-pagers that you'll have come back from break to find at your spot. So that's what I'll be reviewing during this presentation. So Community That Cares is a campaign being delivered through Lambton Public Health as well as Age Friendly Sarnia, and the goal is to help community members connect in meaningful ways and hopefully inspire community members to support each other through formalized volunteering, paying it forward, random acts of kindness, large or small, recognizing that all members of our community have something to contribute to each other and making our community a great place to live for everyone. And so I also wanted to draw attention to a particular focus on older adults. Again, help the Community That Cares campaign is something for everyone, but I just wanted to recognize that older adults may be more vulnerable or may require more assistance in terms of their daily care. Okay, so why is Lambton Public Health concerned with this campaign? Why are we hoping to deliver and inspire our community members? So we all know how important social supports are and social connectedness are for our health and well-being. We know that developing and cultivating positive relationships with our family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, you name it, is important for our health and well-being, as well as it combats stress, social isolation, and has many benefits like increasing life expectancy along with quality of life. And we know that social connectedness is important for everyone, but again, I'd particularly like to emphasize the importance for seniors because social connectedness helps us to helps individuals cope effectively with change and life transitions. As we all know, many older adults can go through these changes in life transitions, which may be very difficult for them. So for example, having to deal with potentially losing their license or having to require more assistance with activities of daily living that before they were able to do independently, and now they're requiring that additional assistance. So to break it down further, what do we mean by social connectedness? We're looking at those opportunities for our community members to engage with each other in all the various ways that this can take form. So I think automatically we think of our social support system, we think of our family, our friends, our neighbors, maybe even our coworkers, but there are also many other relationships in our life that maybe we don't think of right away. So maybe we're part of a book club, a church group, a sport team. All of those relationships help to make up our social support network and our relationships that we can rely on when we're dealing with stress. And those are the relationships that we'd also like to target in terms of a community that cares. So realizing all of these different relationships that are part of our social support network also helps us to realize the ways that community that cares can manifest. It can be through formalized volunteering through these different support groups. So for example, volunteering with our church, volunteering for a sport team, volunteering with a community organization. But it can also just be simply lending a hand to a neighbor that needs extra help, or shoveling a driveway for an elderly person that might not have the physical capacity to be able to do it themselves. So right now, I'd just like to recognize the work that we're currently doing with our community partners through the Health and Wellbeing Grant. So as you'll see, we're working with the Adult Day program, which is through the County of Lambton Long-Term Care, TELCHECK program with Family Counseling Center, and the wellness clinics with Lambton EMS. So we're currently working to increase the capacity and expand the programming of these different community partners. And they really fit into a community that cares either through the volunteering aspects that are involved with delivering their programs. So for example, TELCHECK really does rely on the generosity of volunteers and their time to be able to connect with members of the community. And also just the mini community that cares that they have told us is forming within these programs, within the clients that are accessing that might be more socially isolated. So at this point, I'll just show one of our impact videos from Lambton EMS to show a little bit more about what the wellness clinic entails and just provide one example of how our community partners are working towards community that cares.
The wellness clinics, we go to groups of seniors where they can come in and talk to us and just have a quick The wellness clinics, we go to groups of seniors where they can come in and talk to us and just have a quick conversation about their general health, if they have any questions, that kind of thing. We also check their vital signs and just see how they're doing in general. It's free, it's very laid back, it's almost like a social event to some people. Yeah, we try to focus on locations that don't have your brick and mortar type of health clinics. So smaller communities like Moortown, Inwood, Thetford, they don't have that place to go to, so that we go to them and they can just get a quick and easy rundown of their general health. For example, in Moortown, there's aqua fitness class that we go to them and see them after their fitness class. So they're already in a group, they're already in one place. So we set up shop there and do our thing. Another reason why they may want to attend a wellness clinic is because they may have some restrictions as far as like mobility or that kind of thing, social isolation, that kind of stuff, where we can go to them as opposed to them having to try to figure out a way to get to their healthcare provider. Anxiety is a huge issue surrounding health. So when your health isn't the best, or if you have things that you're worried about, it can play largely in your mind. So I think just having us there, them knowing that they can come and see us and talk to us, is definitely making a big difference in their lives. With this grant, we're able to expand and go into the smaller communities where we can see several people in one location, and I think it contributes to the community that cares framework with the idea that we're showing the members of the community that we are there, we care about them, and we want to see other people in the community doing the same. The wellness clinics we go to.
So after those videos, you're probably wondering what's the connection to healthy communities, why are we here talking with you today? So basically, I would just like to go back to the themes of the built environment that were previously discussed. So transportation networks, housing, food systems, neighborhood design, and natural environments. So as you can imagine, these all affect how we interact with the people in our community and how we're able to build those positive relationships with others. So for example, going to neighborhood design. If there's no sidewalks, this limits our walkability, or if there's limited access to green space, that can drastically decrease the amount of time we spend outdoors doing communal activities with our neighbors, with friends, and that could drastically impact the relationships that we're able to build with other people in our community, potentially increasing social isolation. So it really is hard to reach out and support your neighbors, show you're being a community that cares, when you don't even know your neighbor in the first place. So the relationships that make up our social support networks are important all year round, but as we're moving into winter, I'd just like to highlight the importance about winter and social isolation and snow. So through the Age-Friendly Sarnia Action Plan, community members really mentioned that snow was an issue for them and being able to connect in the community. So not only going out into the community, out and about, but just being able to potentially leave their homes or even have care brought in. If they have home care services with a nurse or a PSW, it becomes a great safety concern. So having a social support network in place is something that can help us combat these issues. It's important to realize that although we're focusing on older adults and maybe they have limited ability to, for example, shovel their laneway, it is about reciprocal relationships, community that cares. It's not only about, performing acts of kindness for others, but it's something that we're hoping, everyone can contribute in some way or another. So an elderly neighbor might not be able to shovel their own laneway, but maybe they can cook a meal for you, or maybe they watch your kids when you get home from work late. And it's just about developing those relationships in our lives that hopefully can improve our quality of life. So I'm sure you're starting to see that neighborhood design, connected communities, transportation networks, sidewalks, safety concerns are all interconnecting as we talk about snow and snow removal, and more broadly just a community that cares in general. So at this point, I'd just like to challenge you as municipal planners and representative to take note of how a community that cares impacts the work that you do and how you guys can contribute from an organizational standpoint to a community that cares. It's a multi-pronged approach. We're not just looking at, I think when people hear community that cares, they only think of members of our community contributing as independent community members, but that's not the case. We're hoping that people from that organizational standpoint, bringing that capacity, have ways that they can contribute as well. So just things to reflect on are, what's the conversations that we can be having? What are feasible measures that we can start implementing through your positions, through your organizations? And you'll see at the back of the room, we have a booth set up. We have a brainstorming chart that we'd love to get your feedback on those questions that I've just proposed to you. We have some complimentary tea that we'd like to challenge you to start implementing community that cares in your own life. So you can take those home, you can connect with hopefully a neighbor over a cup of tea and get to know them as well. And just feel free to come over and chat with us at the end of the workshop. Okay, thank you.